So on the latest episode of Who is America, featuring Sacha Baron Cohen on Showtime, the trend where he is able to dupe over some of the most craziest right-wingers the Republican Party is able to offer continues. Now, as you'll see, I think there may be a correlation between craziness and how easy they are to dupe, because you got another crazy right-winger on this week, and that individual is former criminal sheriff of Maricopa County, Arizona, Joe Arpaio, and Sacha Baron Cohen got him to come on a fake YouTube-esque unboxing show for seemingly no good reason at all. I mean, I don't know why he agreed to this appearance, but nonetheless he did, and they talked about various political issues while Cohen's character unboxed various toys. Now, Cohen began asking him more specific questions about Donald Trump, since Arpaio knows him personally, since Donald Trump actually pardoned Joe Arpaio. And this was probably the most noteworthy portion of the entire segment, in my opinion.
So do you think President Trump, he's your friend, do you think he might have had a golden shower?
Would surprise me.
Oh, I would love to have a golden shower. Do you think there's any way you could get President Trump to give me a golden shower?
In Finland?
Or in America, in Washington, in the
Well,
White House?
I'll tell you one thing. If he sees this and the way you're speaking, he's going to like you because you think like he thinks.
My first job was a hand job from my mother, and it was newspapers. What was your first hand job?
So let me say this, me, whatever I did in my life, I always did that extra. It gets me in trouble sometimes.
You wanted to give the best hand job possible.
Extra sometimes.
Oh, so if Donald Trump calls you up after this and says, Sheriff Joe, I want to offer you an amazing blowjob, would you say yes?
I may have to say yes.
So, since I showed you the clip, there's about a 99% chance that this video gets demonetized, but nonetheless, I still wanted to talk about it because I think that that was great. So look, I don't think that there's much merit to the Trump golden shower theory, but nonetheless, I thought it was hilarious how Sacha Baron Cohen got Joe Arpaio to agree to these really absurd things, and he didn't pick up on the sexual innuendo. And some additional comments here that stood out to me. Cohen said, "You wanted to give the best hand job possible," and Arpaio responded by saying, "Extra sometimes." Now, Cohen said, "So if Donald Trump calls you up after this and says, Sheriff Joe, I want to offer you an amazing blowjob, would you say yes?" And Joe said, "I may have to say yes." So now, to give you some additional context, because I couldn't show you the full clip, it's relatively long, I'll link to it down below so you can watch it and get the full context. When Sacha Baron Cohen's character was talking to Joe Arpaio about hand jobs and blowjobs, he primed him to think about these things in the context of actual jobs. But here's why I think Joe agreed to those things overall, even if Sacha Baron Cohen primed him to think of blowjobs and and hand jobs as career opportunities. I mean, it's because Joe Arpaio is 86 years old, and he probably had absolutely no idea what a hand job or a blowjob was, and in an interview with the Phoenix New Times, he kind of confirmed that this was in fact the case. He stated, "I didn't even know what he was talking about," Arpaio explained. "I couldn't even hear what the hell he was saying. He had a bad accent. He was twisting things around. I felt uncomfortable with some of the words they were using, but I had to live through it. I am not the type of guy who gets up and walks out. I never walked out in thousands of interviews. I just take it," he explained at the interview, which he told was being broadcast live to 2 million people. "I was kind of shocked," he added, "but I figured this is Finland and this is a famous comedian." So that's about what I expected. I think he just didn't know what that was. Maybe he knew what a blowjob was, but since Sacha Baron Cohen brought up other jobs, meaning career opportunities, maybe, again, he was just primed to not think of it in that way. However, what's interesting to me is that in his response to this, he tried to spin this as a positive for himself, saying that Sacha Baron Cohen did show one good thing. He showed how I support the president. So after you have the proper context, Joe, and you know what he was referring to when he was talking about handjobs and blowjobs, you don't want to spin this to make it seem as if it's a positive. When you said that you would accept an amazing blowjob from the president, you don't want to spin it. You just want to let go. You want to walk away. You want to take the L on this one, Joe, because there's absolutely no way you can spin this to make you not look like a naive idiot. Now, understand that if this was just any old person who he was duping into saying that he wants a handjob or a blowjob from the president, I would think it's cruel, right? But since this is Joe Arpaio, someone who is egregious, because Joe Arpaio is who he is, because he was found guilty for racial profiling, because he's just a disgusting individual, I don't feel bad about him being fooled by Sacha Baron Cohen or being made fun of by Sacha Baron Cohen, because these are individuals that they don't care at all about marginalized communities. They don't care about the suffering that their policies caused. They don't think about that. They just think, look, I'm anti-immigrant, I have an agenda, and the means justify the ends. That's the way that they think. They think in absolutist terms. There's no nuance for individuals like Joe Arpaio. So I don't feel bad for him that he was duped by Sacha Baron Cohen and looked like an idiot. Again, if this was any other old person who Sacha Baron Cohen duped, I'd say, look, it's not that big of a deal because they clearly didn't know what you were talking about, but because it's Joe Arpaio, you know, I don't feel bad for him. So I am looking forward to seeing who Sacha Baron Cohen dupes next week. Although I will say this, I kind of like where he gets them to say crazy things. Like I think when he got Jason Spencer to do and say crazy things, that was more powerful. When he got the Republicans to read off of a teleprompter saying that they support arming kids, I think that was more powerful, but I do acknowledge that it's probably more difficult to get individuals to do that because you've got to find someone who's really gullible and really stupid and naive to be able to do something like that. So I think that what we're probably going to see is him just kind of trolling politicians more frequently, like, you know, we saw with Roy Moore and now with Joe Arpaio, but either way, I'm fine with it. He's kind of exposing and making fun of the most egregious political figures in the country, and I'm okay with that. My only hope is that he will allow us to put in requests. I'd like to see him make fun of people like Louis Gohmert and Steve King, who are just disgusting individuals.
Support this podcast by becoming a patron at patreon.com/Humanist Report.